The Times publishing this reporting and the president denying it, this is not anywhere close to the end of this story, because one thing we know from the Times' reporting and from our own follow-up reporting and reporting from NBC News is that there are witnesses and documents and evidence that could shed light on what actually happened here. And it does appear that what actually happened here might be a violation of the law. The Times reports that Woody Johnson told multiple colleagues about the president's request in 2018 that he should ask the British government to move the British Open to his private golf club. The Times also reports that the episode left several diplomats at the American embassy in London, quote, unsettled, including Ambassador Johnson's deputy, who had advised the ambassador not to raise this issue with the British government. But then there's this. Quote, complaints were raised with the department's Office of the Inspector General last fall, the State Department's Office of Inspector General, when a team of investigators began a review of diplomatic operations at the embassy. The findings were submitted in February, and the complaints are expected to be included, according to one of the investigators, meaning the complaints about this golf course shenanigans are expected to be included in that report. It's not clear why the review has not been made public. Well, what happened to that review? The Inspector General looked into this, including into the allegation that the president had the U.S. ambassador to Britain try to move the British Open to his personal business. The State Department Inspector General looked into that, and we've got contemporaneously U.S. State Department officials complaining about it and putting that on the record. What happened to that report? What happened to that investigation? Well, NBC News further reported today that the Inspector General report was, quote, completed and marked classified as of May. An unclassified version has yet to be released. Now, NBC News has asked the State Department Inspector General's office whether that report includes investigation of the allegations about the president asking the British government to move the British Open golf tournament to the president's personal club, but hasn't received an answer to that question specifically. But we now know there is an Inspector General's report sitting somewhere inside the State Department, a report that reportedly addresses some variety of complaints about the American embassy in London under Woody Johnson, and per the Times, is expected to have included contemporaneous complaints by other State Department officials about the president pulling off this rank first grader's understanding of what it means to be a corrupt president request, where he tells the ambassador to go get his private business a golf club from the British government. Right? I mean, first of all, there is a question. Let's get it confirmed. Let's get it nailed down as to whether the British Open at Trump's golf club episode has been investigated. If so, what happened to that investigation? Right? But it also puts a whole new angle on the fact that Trump just outrageously, blatantly, and without explanation, fired that State Department Inspector General, who would have been the guy who did that report, right? We know the president fired him in the middle of that Inspector General conducting multiple investigations into Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. But that appears to have also been the same Inspector General who investigated this, who investigated the president telling the U.S. ambassador to Britain to have the British government give him the British Open at his private business. And that, of course, is, Tuesday in the Trump administration, now Wednesday in the Trump administration. This kind of trying to use the U.S. government, trying to use the powers of the presidency literally just to make money for himself and his business. It is something we have seen President Trump try to get away with over and over and over again. But in this case, what we're looking at may also be an active cover-up right now. We may actively be seeing a cover-up for this new corruption scandal involving the president right now. Did the Inspector General look into this specifically? Why was that report marked classified months ago? What happened to that report? Will any of it, classified or otherwise, ever be released? Why is it being sat on? In normal times, you would expect that this kind of thing would be the basis for an impeachment inquiry, right? For any president, almost for any president, no matter which party was controlling the House, where impeachment proceedings originate. And this is a really, really basic, really obvious alleged act of direct corruption by the president to put money in his pocket. Question now is whether there are threads here that can be tugged on, whether this can actually be ferreted out, whether somebody can find out what happened here, including the cover-up part involving this Inspector General's investigation, the cover-up part of this, which appears to be ongoing.